Have you checked the children?
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Sometimes that is better.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Horror Show. I'm Cecil Laird.
And you got Jaime and Fuego here.
And we are here to review... Sorry, I started talking before you were done with here. But I never know how long your here is going to be, in all honesty.
Sometimes I'm like here. And
Yeah,
I'm like,
I'm in Fuego. Here. And sometimes it's that. So, guys, we're here to talk about Itsy Bitsy. Teeny weeny
Yellow polka dot bikini. Don't want no itty bitty
We're so
teeny
old.
weeny shriveled up.
I mean, no, we're not old. That's where I got it from, was that. Don't want no short man.
Man.
Don't want. All right,
Funny thing.
that's still old, though. That's like, it's not as old
still
as the
dating
first
us.
one, but it's still
dating
really
us,
old.
man.
Good Lord. All right, anyway. Bye, young viewers. It was nice. Thanks for
Peace
stopping
out.
by. All right. Guys, this movie is one that it came out, I
Last
think,
year?
officially
2019?
last year, but it got a few like festival things first, didn't it?
I think that there was that trailer that was like bumping around.
That's what it was.
We did a reaction to the trailer like a good
Like
like
2
maybe
years,
2 years ago.
yeah.
And it just took a long time to come out.
So we finally got access to it, and I bought it, frankly, sight unseen, because I like creature movies, and I specifically, for some reason, like giant spider movies, or just spider movies.
Eight-legged Freaks,
Arachnophobia and Eight-Legged Freaks are the two that I go to, right? Arachnophobia is the best normal-sized spider movie. Eight-Legged Freaks is the most fun giant spider movie, although Big-Ass Spider is also kind of fun, but not as fun as Eight-Legged Freaks.
Yeah, any sort of big creature stuff where they're mutated or just unnaturally large. Like Skeeter is one with mosquitoes I was a big fan of. back as a
Stung.
kid.
We still
Stung.
haven't reviewed Stung for the
Stung is
channel, and yet it's
great,
one of the best
actually.
ones ever.
Yeah, Stung is fun.
We need to review Stung. Hey,
Yeah.
patrons, request Stung for us. Like, that's what we need to do. Any movie we think of that we're like, we haven't reviewed that yet. Psst, patrons, tell us to review Stung, so we have to. All right,
what to
so anyway, my overall thoughts for Itsy Bitsy, I think I was worried we're going to be skewed, because the only thing I heard about it was that it's way more family drama.
Which it is.
Will you let me finish what I was going to say? I didn't
Can I
even finish my sentence.
Can I finish?
It's way more family drama than it is, spider movie. And when you compare it to a movie like Eight-Legged Freaks, or even a movie like Arachnophobia, yes, it's not as much spider action. However, I'm here to tell you that in my opinion, I thought it was paced well. And I thought we got enough spider stuff throughout the whole movie. Like, I got the impression based on those early reviews that, like, we literally didn't get almost any spider stuff until the last third of the movie, and that's just not the case. The spider shows up, and it shows up small, and it grows, right?
Yeah, it's about the same size for most of it. I'd
No,
say.
no,
Well,
it grows
maybe it
towards
gets
the
a
end, big time.
Little bit.
It does,
little
but
bit.
nonetheless, it's a slow rollout of the spider. It's not you don't see it right away like in Eight-Legged Freaks, but it does. It's a slow rollout, and it's all mostly done practically. So I really appreciated that, and I liked the family drama part as well as the spider part. So all in all, I actually really enjoyed this movie more than almost any review that I watched of it, surprising myself.
Yeah, I was surprised by it too, especially from like the very first frames where it went to storytelling. I was not expecting to be tied in with like the mythology and how we get to this, this large spider even being in this like suburban home sort of place.
Starts similarly to Arachnophobia in a completely separate biome from well, not biome, but a completely separate continent from us.
Yeah, it has to be. Yeah, it has to actually be brought over here, and higher production values than I was anticipating. Yes, there were some problems with the spider once we switched from the practical to the CG. We'll talk about that later, but the acting was way better than I was expecting, especially from both of the kids. Bruce Davidson's great, as is the mother. She's not bad at all, and she's like adequately conflicted and both sympathetic and yet irritating at the same time. And it's more about the tension of the spider lurking around more so than like actual frequency of attacks, I guess. But the tension is really just cranked up over the course of the film very well, in my estimation. And I was pleasantly surprised by this movie. It's not like full-on horror throughout, but it's very just tense and scary, honestly, in my opinion. So yeah, props to this film. I dug it.
I agree. It used its shortcoming, or it overcame its shortcomings where it could. Again, the CG we'll get to But as far as the practical stuff, it's really, when you think about it, at times the spider's moving and you think it's like, oh, it's just a puppeteer off screen doing that. But in the movie, you don't think about that, which is nice.
I sure didn't.
Yeah, no, I really didn't while I was thinking about it. In retrospect, sure, you can pick it apart like that, but I dig it. And here's what's really broadened my mind to these kinds. Like, I love creature movies anyway, so I'm already a bit biased towards, especially bigger than normal creatures.
Amen.
And I love arachnophobia, but they're not always done perfectly, and they're not always done completely uniquely. But when I watched The Monster, right, that kind of opened things up as far as, a good creature movie can really have great, a great familial sort of story as well. That now the one in Itsy Bitsy isn't quite as strong as that one.
No, but still.
But it's a similar sort of thing. You know what I mean? Where you're dealing with heavy family drama while this external force is going to change things at some point. And I'm finding I really dig these kinds of movies.
Yeah, and I mean, if we're going to segue into
Go
story,
ahead, please.
like it's really a good comparison with The Monster because of the fact that there is a trauma that sets things in motion for the story to even take place, with the mother taking this job, leaving New York, going to the other side of the country practically with both of her kids, and you get the vibe that she has been so just... There's a family tragedy that kind of sparks this relocation, loss of a child, and it's a theme throughout. There's flashbacks, just like we have in The Monster, flashbacks to prior aspects of the said trauma that causes the resentment between the children in this case, as opposed to just one in The Monster. But yeah, the mother is not a perfect person at all. She is significantly flawed, and she is essentially relying very heavily on the older son to raise and take care of the younger sister, while she works and deals with her own, PTSD and like addiction aspects and various other things. But yeah, so she takes this job to be the caretaker of Bruce Davidson's character, who has multiple sclerosis, and yet he has a very interesting past in the fact that he is a collector of all kinds of strange, artifacts and, pieces of just different cultures from all across the world, some as old as thousands of years.
He's a little bit Needful Things owner.
A little bit, except not as like
not as evil, obviously, but no, he's got that
but...
kind of eye for things. And Bruce Davidson, who, by the way, I cannot watch without thinking of X-Men. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean,
but he's a sympathetic character in this, and he forms a bond with the boy, despite the resentment he has for his mother in a lot of ways, for being forced to basically be the main person who cares for his little sister, like making her all of her meals, putting her to bed, making sure she brushes her teeth, all this different stuff while mom is kind of floundering about. He forms this friendship and almost like has a fatherly figure in Bruce's character, and he almost becomes like his little mini archaeologist, like assistant of sorts, as there is something that's brought to Davidson's house, and it sets everything into motion. It's a ceramic egg that we see at the beginning of the film in this tribal ritual from the other side of the world, and it is brought to him by this guy he used to do business with, and it's a bad omen, this thing being brought, and it's when this egg is broken open, this ceramic egg, that this creature is able to escape, and that's where we get our big spider from. Over the course of stuff, but it really, especially in the middle portion of it, it's a lot of family just bashing heads and stuff, and we have these tense scenes where, like, there's characters sleeping and spiders under the bed, spiders crawling up on the wall, and all this other stuff. But really, it's counterbalanced with the drama within the family so very well that with the characters being in these states of peril, you care more about them because of the fact that they're fleshed out so much more significantly as people, and the family dynamic is tough to watch. There's some scenes that are like scary and tough to watch in a different way. Like, I was wincing with some of the spider stuff, especially in the third act, but I was also, some of the confrontation between older son and mother, it makes you just cringe in a different fashion, but just as seriously and significantly.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's funny. This movie is not necessarily a response, but it's a good example of what people could watch after they complain about horror movies nowadays that don't have any character development.
Yeah.
This is a ton of character development with spider stuff thrown in and used in the third act in a big way. So it's not your usual horror thing, and yet it's this kind of movie struggles to find its audience.
Probably.
So
yeah.
it's a bummer, but that's part of why I wanted to make sure we covered it. I watched this a couple of months ago at this point, and Fuego got around to watching it, and so I just didn't want to do the review by myself, but I came away from this really enjoying it.
Same.
I'm glad that you felt the same way, and I
did
think
quite like it,
more
yeah.
people should have been espousing the positives of this movie than just focusing on the fact that it's not really that much spider stuff. Look, I disagree, and I'm a guy that watches creature movies specifically for creatures, and I'll tell you, if I'm like, Willow Creek, the perfect example. It's a Bigfoot movie that doesn't have a single goddamn frame of Bigfoot in it or even alluded to. Hated it, right? I'll be the first to tell you when the creature isn't utilized enough. In this, it was. It really, really was. It was utilized very well for the movie that they were presenting.
Yeah, and there may not be as many attacks as you would have wanted, but the transformation of the attic and the egg laying and all that other stuff, just the alteration of the environment is really gross. It's slimy, in fact, like laying the egg sacs around and all
And the
this other
practical,
stuff.
man, the practical all looks good.
Yeah, it does. There's one character who basically has like his eyes chewed out at one point, and then even when the spider is like biting people's legs and arms and stuff like that, like the gushiness, and there's one character in the third act who gets bitten, and you see like the pus like oozing out of the chest wound and stuff.
I love
and we'll,
that stuff.
and we'll get into that in the practicality and stuff.
Well, we
but,
might as well segue to it. I mean,
yeah, I've already kind of done that. So yeah,
we'll go back to the acting.
And acting,
we'll go back to the acting.
But I mean, it's not really until we get some CGI going on that stuff is a little less believable, and when we see like major movement that's actually more clear in frame as
Right.
opposed to hidden in the shadows and stuff like that. That's
It
where
isn't
you start
partially
to see,
off frame that they can puppeteer from. you
Yeah,
know?
so that's where you start to see the budgetary constraints, unfortunately. But as a whole, I liked the design of the spider. You get these really cool close-up shots of like just the front of it and the fangs and everything,
Yep.
and it's all really gross looking. And the egg sacs and everything that I also mentioned, and the wounds that you get when characters are attacked, they all look really good. So, and I like the set design. I mean, granted, it's confined to just this house for the most part, but even the stuff early on where you get the whole dimly lit tribal stuff in these caves and the ritualistic aspect, all that stuff, the makeup on those characters, the aboriginals, as I'm assuming they are, really good. The production value back to that was much bigger for this. The only time you really see the lack thereof is in the CGI, but everything else was really great. And thoughts on the look and everything of the film?
Yeah, no, I thought it looked great. I thought it was very, well shot for what it was trying to do. It was focusing on the family stuff, and then it was kind of drifting into the spider parts at times.
We
And
got some
I
spider
really
POV too. Remember?
Yeah, some spider POV. Yep,
Yeah, we totally do.
So no, I definitely liked their choices as far as the look of the film went. And yeah, the effects, I agree. I mean, it was so much practical, and I really love to give credit where credit is due when it comes to practical, because some don't do it great, and some, you can tell really put a lot of time and effort into making it look as good as they could, and it translates.
Yeah, there's
So
even
I loved it.
there's a fight with the spider at the end that's practical that looks really cool, man. And
I agree.
I don't want to say the full extent of what goes down, but we're talking like spider on people trying to grab and rip limbs off, and all
that
kinds
can
of
look
different
really
stuff.
stupid at times.
It didn't in this,
And
my
it didn't.
opinion.
Yeah, no, it really didn't. That's what I'm saying. It's something that is very perilous when it comes to being presented on film, but they do it because, guys, if you didn't know, spiders this size don't exist. So they have to make it up
They
somehow.
get pretty damn big in Australia, but
Well, not this big, but still.
not this big. But good segue into acting is the fact that when you have characters acting with puppets and things of this nature,
And they
can
convince
come
you.
off looking bad. This cast is not, right? Granted, it's a small cast, and interestingly enough, you do have Tasha Yar on there, Denise Crosby of Pet
That's funny,
Cemetery and The Next Generation. She plays the sheriff. Her acting might be some of the
Suspect a little
lesser
bit,
bits in here, but Bruce is great, the mother is great, and both of the kids are really, really good. Whether it's interacting with the puppets or whether it's just all of the interpersonal drama that Cecil was mentioning, all the familial stuff that could have come off as hokey and even unnecessary, perhaps. But all of it is convincing, and whether it's Bruce talking to the young boy, whether it's the young boy arguing with the mom or whatever. Even like the whole naivety of the little girl. She's like, I'm playing with the sticky snow in the attic and all this different stuff, and like she sells it, man. It's like, I don't know, I enjoyed it, except for Denise Crosby. I thought everybody did a pretty damn good job in this, and not that she's bad, it's just she kind of stuck out for kind of hamming it a little bit.
I'll echo your sentiments. I thought everyone was mostly good. Denise was
She's just
but
okay.
But I thought the kids sold it, like you said. I thought they did a really good job, and the mom and Bruce Davidson is always reliable. So I thought the acting was definitely worth it. I mean, all in all, guys, it is a package that's just, it's worth your time. It really is.
Score is creepy too. Dude.
Yeah,
the score was legit creepy, and I don't know. I was appreciative of it when I was watching with Catherine. She was like, "This is like a Tales from the Crypt score or something, isn't it?" And I was like, "Yeah, I could see it being of that ilk, but just not as cheese as a lot of the Tales from the Crypt. Like more Demon Knight than Bordello of Blood, maybe, if you want to make the comparison, as far as seriousness goes."
No, I agree. I really dug the score. All the music in it was great.
Yeah,
great. I mean, it all just coalesced into a really successful, dramatic creature movie.
Yeah, I was impressed, and I'm really curious, like, since I didn't look in his IMDb, what Micah, the director, who was also the writer and the producer, if I'm not mistaken, I'm curious if he has done anything before, and if not, what else, could come after this, because this film impressed me a lot more than I expected.
Yeah, so, well, hopefully we'll find out.
Yeah.
So why don't you guys let us know in the comments down below, what did you think of Itsy Bitsy if you saw it? If you didn't, are you more or less likely to seek it out now that you've heard us talk about it? Let us know in the comments down below. We greatly appreciate you taking the time to watch this, and if you enjoyed the video, click the like button and subscribe. Click that notification bell to make sure you don't miss any reviews like this going forward. And while you're down there, you can check the description box for our link to our Patreon or our TeePublic site, where you can support the channel a couple of different ways.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Until next time, though, I've been Cecil Laird.
And Gracias and Jaime in Fuego.
And remember, stay scared.